You know those rabbit holes on the internet that you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you think, this must be Wonderland. Now this is the strangest it's going to get, and then it just keeps getting stranger and stranger and stranger. I raise you Elizabeth April. Some of the stuff that she says I think puts Teal Swan to shame. Let's talk about this. Hey everyone, if you're new here, I'm Andy Fellows and I make videos on cults, skepticism and making sense of life after New Age spirituality. Now before we jump into this video, I just want to be really clear that this video is not intended to be an attack on Elizabeth April in any way, shape or form. Really what's happening here is I'm responding to the things that she's saying in her video and giving my thoughts and my opinions on it, coming from the point of view of someone who's a little bit skeptical, who wants to apply some critical thought to what she's saying. Now if you do happen to disagree with what I'm saying, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments in an intellectually honest and respectful way. So Elizabeth April is a very special case. I think some of the stuff that she comes out with, honestly, at this point, I've been making videos like this for nearly 2 years now, and I was involved in New Age spirituality for quite a while. I was pretty gung-ho about it all, and this has thrown me a little bit. It's not that she's saying anything new. It's not that what she's saying is particularly outrageous in any way. There's just a quality to it. It's just, maybe it's just how confident she is in it, how certain she is about what she's saying, or seems to be at least. Like this one video I watched from her, it's the first video I saw, it was about portals, right? And she's saying stuff like this in it.
Portals that are opening up in your homes, and this is definitely a way in which entities and beings and reps can actually come into our home. I've actually even had like military projectors in the home from portals that they've opened.
It's a whole other world, isn't it? It's a whole other way to live. And I think even in my time as a New Ager, I don't think I got that deep. I feel like this is a lot of these New Age tropes ramped up to the nth degree and just being sort of very enthusiastically enjoyed is what I'll say. And by the way, you should definitely follow me on Instagram if you've got an Instagram. Check out these kind of little slide things that I've been putting up lately. I'll be doing more of those little ideas, sort of similar to the kind of stuff I talk about on the channel, but in little bite-sized chunks. If that sounds interesting, then go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I think that's where the thing will be. If it's over there, laugh at me. Thank you. And then you get stuff like the clip that I'm going to show you in a second, which just reminds me of the concept of communal narcissism, which I was reading about relatively recently. And the reason this reminds me of communal narcissism is because when we're talking about communal narcissism, one of the things that comes up is this point of using your interactions with others, using your position in a social setting to make yourself feel more special, or make yourself feel more important or better, more significant in some way, right? Now, that said, have a listen to this.
I asked a lot of you to be here on this planet at this time. I asked you to be here, and it's been awful.
So in that clip, there's like a whole lot of lore, I think, that needs to be sort of laid out. So for anyone who's not familiar, there is this idea in like the New Age circles that we are all sort of souls who have come from somewhere else in the universe, usually a planet that is one of the special ones, one of the ones they've chosen that says that there's a civilization there and that you've come from there. It's a whole thing, right? Basically, what Elizabeth's kind of getting at here is this idea that she, as some sort of, I guess, authoritative figure in the before life starseed realm, has asked a lot of people to come to incarnate on Earth at this time, on this planet at this time, right? Isn't that just a remarkable thing to come out with? Is that not just one of the strangest things that you've heard? Where's this come from? Like, where have you got this from? How have you come upon this? Unless you're literally just sitting there like meditating and going, oh yeah, I am really special, actually. I did think that. This is the thing. I was talking about this in the Charis Melina Brown video that I did, where she was sort of channeling Mother Earth or whatever. The problem is with a lot of channeling stuff, I've got cat hair on me. The problem is with a lot of channeling stuff is that there's not a filter necessarily that what you're channeling is going through that is gonna like allow you to edit out the stuff that you may just be saying for your own reasons because you already believe that. That's also kind of a weird thing to feel guilty about, isn't it? Other than this presumably meditation or channeling that she's got this idea from, there's no other way to verify whether that's true or not. So if I was gonna really give much energy to feeling guilty about something, I would want to know whether or not I could definitely be sure that it had happened. you know? And then Elizabeth April goes on to tell everybody how if they feel like they know her from somewhere else, that's because they do. Have a listen to this.
We're back together again. We're reuniting. And so many of you, when you find my content, you feel like you know me. And that's because you do. You may not recognize my name, you may not recognize my face, my body, my voice, but you know my soul.
Now, if we're voting on most likely reasons that someone feels like they know someone they're watching on YouTube who also happens to be attractive, somewhat charismatic, and kind of friendly seeming, that may just be the fact that they're charismatic, somewhat attractive, and kind of friendly seeming. Also, the format of YouTube is predisposed towards making people feel like they know someone. I mean, parasocial relationships do exist. That is a thing. Now, this next clip is what made me think of Teal Swan, because while a lot of what Elizabeth April has said so far is not necessarily outrageous or uncommon in New Age circles, in fact, the communal narcissism thing that I mentioned, I don't think is unique to Elizabeth in this context. I think it's very common, you know, across New Age spirituality, across New Age circles. But this next bit is what made me go, this sounds like something Teal would say.
I know that, you chose to be here. I know that you have that free will. I know that you volunteered. And I joke around with a lot of my friends and family members that, I'm the reason why you're on this planet. And it's funny.
Now that strikes me as the kind of joke that's only a joke to the person saying it. This is the kind of thing that your weird friend says, right? This is something that your friend comes out with and you go, oh, that's just Elizabeth. She just says stuff like that. Don't worry about it. Just, hey, Elizabeth, do you want another beer? Oh yeah, this beer. I got this beer. I remember this beer. I invented it in the 5th dimension 2 years ago in a dream.
But I just took a look at this planet and the history of this planet and the corruption and the war and the rEpTiLiAnS and the manipulation and the greed and all of that.
To me, that sounds like she's just learned about history for the first time. They're like, yes. The reptilian bit, not so much, but like the rest of it, definitely, what are we doing? By the way, if you're enjoying this video as we're going through it, please hit the like button. But I told you it gets weirder, right? And it has done, clip by clip, but this is where it really kicks off. Okay, listen to this.
This on this planet that's happening right now, that's been going on for centuries, it is the worst case of darkness, manipulation that I've ever witnessed.
So that's the setup. Now wait for the punchline.
And I've been in the Orion Wars. I've participated. I've battled. I've been a warrior in many wars before, and so have you.
Like, what do you say to that? I've been in the Orion Wars. Oh, have you? How was it? The image that I get here is just so sci-fi, so like, has New Age spirituality just become a LARP? Has it just become just everybody just sort of going around, just making stuff up that they think sounds cool? And sure, I mean, if that was true, that would make me feel sort of more special and sort of powerful in some way. Why not believe that? Just go about, oh, by the way, I'm a 12th dimensional light being, empath, starseed, and I'm going to heal you with my thoughts. Like, just say anything. I mean, the thing that really jumps out to me though here is that the Orion Wars, the idea of being a warrior in some regard, is a weird kind of gentle contradiction from the general tone of New Age spirituality's pacifistic nature, right? I mean, a lot of New Agers are very sort of anti-war, they're very peacy, and bear in mind that New Age spirituality as it is now is hugely informed by the hippies. So like, it's really interesting that we've now got this like warrior archetype that's being brought in, like earth warriors. I've heard rainbow warriors as well, which I believe may have been appropriated from some native culture or something like that. Make of that what you will. But that kind of a contradiction isn't an anomaly. Like, just think about how in the law of attraction, for example, there's this idea that, you create your reality and you're a powerful creator and we're all the universe experiencing itself subjectively for a little while. And yet on the same token, anybody that's like struggling in their life, is poor, sick, homeless, whatever, well, those people are just in a low vibration and they just need to raise their vibration. Like, there's this attitude of oneness and like personal empowerment and like, we're all in this together, we're all one. And yet they'll turn around and look at someone who's who's struggling, and effectively victim blame. It's a strange pocket of society, this. And may I add, this is dangerously close to the neoliberal poverty as a character deficit kind of an idea. So back on task, imagine that this is your biggest problem in your life.
With every other galactic battle that I know of out there in the universe, which is a lot, by the way. There's a lot of fucking war out there. This is by far the worst. At least when you're out there and you battle, you know who you are. You remember your soul. You remember your mission. You fucking understand your power.
Just imagine if the reason you were sitting there crying in front of a camera was because of something that you'd made up. It would be a nice problem to have. I would love it if the reason I was crying in front of a camera was because of something I've made up. I don't make a habit of crying in front of a camera, to be fair, but if I did, let's be honest, would be a nice one to be crying at, wouldn't it? But that said, I do feel like this speaks to something deeper, because if you look behind all the sort of sci-fi LARPing stuff from what Elizabeth's saying there, it's really speaking to a sense of disempowerment, isn't it? It's speaking to a feeling of like life is hard, and this idea that like we don't remember who we are, and we don't remember how powerful we are, and that makes life more difficult than it needs to be, and isn't that so bad? Really, that speaks, I feel, to this feeling of like, you know, recognizing that in society you don't have the upper hand. And that is a fascinating thing, because you know, the comment I just made there about how, you know, wouldn't it be nice if the reason that you were crying on camera was because of something that you'd made up. I think often when we see someone like Elizabeth April, we might think, if, you know, we're sort of left-leaning and into this particular way of seeing things, we might think that's white privilege to sit and think that. And yet it seems that with the New Age movement and its blending with something like QAnon, there may well be an undertone in both of those movements. And I would hazard to even say that there probably is this continuing theme, this continuing ever-present feeling of a lack of agency in society. I think in general with these kinds of countercultural and subcultural movements, you do see a consistent repetition of a theme, which is that individuals seem to be frustrated about the way that things are, whether that is because they've put their finger on exactly why things are the way they are, or exactly what they're frustrated about, or whether it's because they've imagined that the reason that things feel not so fair, or that the scale doesn't feel so balanced, is because they've forgotten their soul's nature and that they are a powerful creator or whatever. But that theme runs through, whether it's within the ideology or within a feeling that the individual has. And they've gotten rid of just sort of generally being involved in the regular mainstream culture. They're more interested in, sort of, I guess, cultivating pockets of empowerment and light beings, light workers doing their work. But then the same thing's also true in for example, QAnon, which is a fantastic reference, I think, for this, because you see a very similar trend in QAnon. Again, the focus is, despite all of the shouting and the raving that you get from QAnon patriots about, you know, how the world's run by an evil cabal and all that kind of stuff, the general tone is one of empowerment. It is one of, we're frustrated people, and this thing makes us feel like there's a way to make the world a better place. And so I think that's kind of, in a way, that sort of speaks to the same place as the kind of thing that Elizabeth April's saying here. To that end, while I sort of wince at the thought of someone sitting there on YouTube just talking utter bollocks, and personally that's what I think this is, feel free to disagree, but I think that the kind of stuff Elizabeth's saying here, every time I see it, I'm just like, why are you saying that? You've got a whole channel here, you've got a massive audience, and you're sitting there saying that. I do wonder whether it is a somewhat potentially worthwhile transference of the pain, transference of the issue away from the reality that in society, these are people who don't feel particularly good, or, you know, they don't feel represented in the world, or they don't really necessarily feel like what they're doing in the world is making a positive impact on the world, that this could perhaps make them feel more like actually that is happening. But the real question is, does that make the world a better place? While everybody's living in sort of sci-fi LARPing land, is the world getting better, or are we all just busying ourselves with stuff that doesn't really matter. That's my question on this. It does have to be said that just about anybody can sit there and string together a bunch of sort of vague new ageisms, and if you're attractive and if you're charismatic, then you might just get away with it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be coming from such a a real raw and honest place, I guess, that I'd kind of outlined there. It could just be a grift, because, and I'm not accusing Elizabeth of that, but it does happen, I could sit here now and go, greetings, earth beings, you powerful beings of light. You're completing soul contracts right now, and that's why it feels so hard. That's why it's so difficult right now. It's pretty easy to sit there and appear so overwhelmed by universal love while sort of coming off like a martyr for how good of a person you are, and how much you're enduring the universal solar flare energy right now or whatever. So I guess I'm saying bear that in mind when you're watching videos like this. At least once a week, whenever I put a video like this out, I put out an audio companion to that video as well over on my Patreon, which I tend to talk about things that I can't really talk about on YouTube whether that's because of time constraints or because YouTube just wants to shit on me for talking about those kinds of things in the video too much. And also at the end of every month, I do like a Patreon exclusive sort of live stream thing where I connect with patrons in the chat and just sort of share some behind the scenesy stuff from that month's videos. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then check out the Patreon in the link in the description below. See which tier's right for you. I'm Andy Fellows. I'm here pretty much every Thursday. Please be kind and ask good questions, and I'll see you in the next one.